one day I was looking at a special packaging of matzah for Passover. And it was shemurah, guarded, where when the grain is harvested, from that moment all the way till it's baked, there's a very careful process where no water can make it fermented. And the water itself and all the preparations and instruments are to create this elite matzah. And on the packaging, it said the word mitzvah. And then in parentheses, it gave a definition: a righteous or worthy deed. And I thought to myself, Judaism is really a religion of mitzvot. From Sinai, all those commandments. And when the commandment is fulfilled, it's even called a mitzvah, a righteous or worthy deed. And then I thought about this word here, dikaiomatos, in Romans chapter 5, verse 18, where he's showing that there's one avera through one man and one righteous deed through another man. And he's making the contrast and how important it is. And I thought, if only Jewish people could see the greatest mitzvah of all, the greatest worthy deed, righteous or worthy deed, the deed that fulfilled Bereshit chapter 3, verse 15, to crush the head of the devil. The deed that fulfilled the question asked in Genesis 22, where is the lamb of the burnt offering? The deed that fulfilled Exodus chapter 12, the lamb of Pesach, the Korban Pesach lamb. And then it says Moshiach will be led as a lamb to the slaughter in Isaiah chapter 53, verse 7. And I thought, why don't these Messianic translations capitalize on this? To translate dikaiomatos in Romans 5, verse 18, as mitzvah, and then put in parentheses, righteous or worthy deed. And so I decided to do that in the Orthodox Jewish Bible. Now, this Messianic translation is by a Jewish man, and he died, I think, in the 70s. And after he became a believer, he wanted to make it his business to put this book in a Jewish framework. And so when he gets to this verse, it follows then that, just as a single transgression resulted in a condemnation extending to all men, so one acquittal results in a life-giving justification extending to all men. Well, the word acquittal is really not right, because it's not that he was acquitted. He had to actually go ahead and take the chastisement that brought us peace. Here's another Messianic translation. Messianic Jewish Shared Heritage Bible. You get to this verse. So then, through the transgression of one, condemnation came to all men. Likewise, through the righteousness of one, came righteousness of life to all men. Well, yeah, righteousness, but the Greek actually means a righteous act, a righteous deed. Here's another translation. It's called the Tree of Life version. And when you get to this verse, 18 of chapter 5, so then through the transgression of one, condemnation came to all men, likewise through the righteousness of one came righteousness of life to all men. Again, it misses the idea of a righteous deed or a righteous act. And, Yeshua said to his followers, we are unworthy servants. That's what you should say. We have only done our duty. So the idea of merit is eliminated. Even Abraham, he was not saved on the basis of merit. He didn't have anything to boast about. He was a Gentile. And God wanted that very clear. And so in Romans chapter 4, this is right there, that justification was understood to be God's declaration of forgiveness. And it was independent of any good deed or any merit or any righteous act or any mitzvah, because it was something that God did graciously. And it was based on the merit of Moshiach and on that meritorious righteous deed in Romans chapter 5, verse 18. And I believe that this is important. Now, there are many things that you could quarrel about with this translation, but that particular verse, I believe, is on target. Jewish people want to talk about mitzvot, mitzvahs, all the time. This is always on their mind. Going down the street, they're thinking about it. Seeing the Bible, actually, seeing the Torah especially, as all these mitzvahs, they count them up, 613. They're obsessed with mitzvahs. And they need to be obsessed with one righteous deed. They need to be able to see that word in John chapter 5, verse 18. They need to realize how important his mitzvah was. He prayed, he said, if this is your will, not my will, but thine be done. And then in Philippians, it says that after he lowered himself like this and became a servant, God exalted him. And his name is exalted above every name. There's no other name given under heaven whereby we must be saved. And if I'm with a Jewish person in the hospital and they're on their deathbed, and I'm permitted to speak to them, I will ask them about mitzvahs, and I will explain to them you can't get into heaven based on mitzvahs. Muhammad Atta, I was telling some Muslim children, he thought he was going to heaven. Why? Because he was doing a meritorious thing. He was giving his life as a martyr. He was driving that 737 into the South Tower, North Tower, whatever it was, killing those 3,000 people. And he thought he would be immediately ushered into heaven. And there are many people who think that they can earn salvation by good works. And in many funerals, their works are set forth as a justification for the speaker's confidence that they're in heaven. But the scriptures are very clear about that we're condemned already. John chapter 3, verse 18. were already under sentence of judgment. And because he was sinless, born of Ha'alma, the virgin, his death could be a vicarious death. My righteous servant. There was no evil in him. My righteous servant shall justify many. And this is what we must preach. And so, yes, there's still work to be done on any Messianic translation. There's none can say, we've reached the apogee. We know we have everything right. Look, only the original documents, which we have, only they are perfect. His word is perfect. It revives the soul. It changes the soul. It converts the nephesh. Psalm 19. His word. So we have to go back to the original language. The original language that the inerrant authors wrote. And we have to try to capture it. And we can never, because we are not perfect, we can never capture it perfectly. But this is a word that we don't want to miss, because this is what the Jewish people are into. And they've never thought about what he did for them as a mitzvah. But they need to think of it that way. That one man did an aveira, and in sinning all have sinned. And one man did a mitzvah. And in that mitzvah there is merit and vicarious blessing for all men. Whoever calls upon the name of the Lord will be saved. The ganef on the tree couldn't do any mitzvahs, but he could call. He could say, remember me when you come as king. Remember me, King Yeshua. And he said, today you will be with me in Gan Eden. And this is our assurance. As long as we're trusting mitzvahs, we'll never know if we did enough, and we'll never have any assurance. We'll only hope we're going to heaven. But if we can wrap our mind around what he did, the righteous act that he did for us, which carries merit for our sake, because he lives, I shall live also. Amen.